Greetings, Earthlings and humans and all sentient beings, clones, doppelgangers, secondaries, whatever the hell you are. I don't know who you are or where you come from, but greetings, and especially to animals out there. People continue to send me, please, the videos of your animals loving my podcast and the sound of my voice. As we all know, animals are far more intelligent than we humans, and they love my voice so much because they understand that at last and finally a voice of sanity has pierced this unified field of bullshit. Welcome to the Roseanne Barr podcast.
Oh, you see, my patience is growing thin.
Well, today's show is a banger of a show. It also we already did this show when we were at Mel K's house in Florida, but the sound didn't turn out right, so we're doing it again. And it's like a godsend that we had to delay it because so much has happened, and we have a great person to explain it to us. A genius, as I told you. I never interview anyone who is not a fellow or sister genius. And so we have one today. Hi, it's Mark Finchem. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Roseanne. Thank you for your kind words.
Well, you deserve kind words, and I very much admire your brains. You've got a lot of files up there in that head of yours, and I love it. I can't wait to get to this. So last time first we should say, you're running for office, right?
That's correct. State Senate in Arizona.
And you just happen to come from the dirtiest county in the whole wide world in the election integrity subject, which is what is it? County in Arizona?
Maricopa.
I'm previously from Maricopa County, and now I live in Yavapai County, which is directly to the north. And you're right, I had to escape perhaps one of the most corrupt counties in America. And I did.
Well, I'm glad you escaped in one piece. And you have such great ideas for the rehabilitation of America. I guess that's what I'm going to call it from now on. But I wanted to ask you, before we go into all of that, and election integrity being such a huge part of it all, and the election being such a huge part of it all, and here we are in the election season, and so close to the event itself, and they keep on trying to kill our candidate. What the hell? They just did it again. What are they doing?
Well, that demonstrates, you've heard before, when you're taking flack, you're over the target. And so this is just another demonstration that the administrative state, the deep state, the World Economic Forum, all of the forces that are against America know full well that for 26, 23 years, about, the uniparty Democrat Republican machine has controlled Washington, D.C., and has done nothing but run our finances into the ground. So the people rise up and say, we're going to go a different direction. It's kind of like firing your old boss. We're going to go in a different direction. We, the people, are the CEOs collectively of America, and we're going to hire a new general manager in the form of Donald Trump. So now they know that he is going to be like a wrecking ball to the administrative state. In fact, I'm sure you saw the 10-point plan that he put. I think it was 10 points that was out on Twitter the other day.
Yes, I've seen it.
I mean, he laid out his agenda for America.
And it's so brilliant because it's not party line. It's something completely new that we all breathe a sigh of relief that there's someone with common sense in that.
Yes. So the first step to solving problems is identifying what the problem is.
Hello.
The next step is understanding what the problem entails and how to go, and then developing a plan. It's just called prioritize, make a list, prioritize, and execute. Okay.
Right.
So Donald Trump,
business.
Yeah, that's why he's a billionaire. So here's the question that I want to ask Americans. Who would you rather have lead you? Somebody who is a self-made billionaire, who knows how to get a corporation back on track, or somebody who has had to absolutely fabricate history in order to fill her portfolio of accomplishments and has never done anything to raise up America? Which would you prefer? I mean, it's a pretty simple choice. But now you've got the administrative state. They cannot stand to have Donald Trump back in the White House. Why? Because I predict there will be a steady stream of C-130s on their way to Gitmo with individuals who have committed treason against this nation. Just saying.
God,
so
that'd
now
be great.
You've got there's
Well,
a
that's
whistleblower.
what we're all waiting for. We're all waiting for the equal application of law, for God's sake.
Yeah, and I'm glad that President Trump said this isn't about retribution. This is about justice.
That's right.
You know, he's had to face injustice. He's had to face this gauntlet that, quite frankly, I don't know of another man alive who would have survived what that man has been through.
No.
And now, with his second assassination attempt, everybody's asking the question, how could that happen? Well, there's a
How could
whistleblower.
it happen?
Well, there's a whistleblower out there who said basically the leak is out of DHS, Mayorkas and crew, and I call them crew in the criminal sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you've got DHS that leaks whereabouts of the president, FBI running an assassination team, which, by the way, they know who these individuals are before they ever show up.
Yeah, they've known him for a long time. Did you know this latest guy was in that same BlackRock commercial with the last shooter?
That's been debunked. It wasn't BlackRock,
it's
but it was some other globalist. Its name escapes me. It was another uniparty ad,
It
but it wasn't
was a
BlackRock.
commercial.
It might have well been. Might as well.
It was a commercial, but yes, your point is well taken. The two have been tied together. Okay, so these are assets that are being run by somebody, whether it's the FBI, the CIA, or whatever organization, NSA. I mean, it doesn't really matter what the three letters are. Mm-hmm. This is a rogue organization that participated in a coup in 2021 against the sitting president, who now wants to assassinate whom I will call the president in exile. In fact,
that's what I say too.
I introduced President Trump, I think, in 2020 at a fundraiser at a certain club to the folks who were in attendance. And I asked him, sir, do you mind if I introduce you as the president in exile? And he set his jaw and looked at me, and you could tell he was thinking for a good 30 seconds. I said, I tell you what, you introduce me however you want to. So I believe that Donald Trump, especially after seeing the evidence from the Maricopa County for the 2022 and 2020 election, the fact that Maricopa County election officials altered the software in the back end and thus avoided the software certification by the Election Assistance Commission, EAC.
But let's talk about that for a minute, because I don't want people to let this go. They disfranchised all the voters in Maricopa County.
Yes, they disenfranchised them because what they did is they went in the back end and they created this Frankenstein software, if you will. Mm-hmm. They altered the way the software operates, thus voiding the certification. That means that the election from the very start was irredeemably compromised.
Absolutely.
Never should have been certified. Mm-mm. So that tells me that not only did the elections officials commit felonies in Arizona, but so did the Board of Supervisors, who certified an election knowing full well what had happened. That also is a felony in the state of Arizona. Yet we've got a beneficiary of that election sitting in the Attorney General's office. That would be Chris Mays, extreme leftist, who, instead of prosecuting crimes like this, that we have proof, Kari and I went to the U.S. Supreme Court to show the court that they'd been lied to. Well, instead of the court hearing that, they declined to hear it. So I guess they like being lied to. But moreover, we've got an attorney general here in Arizona that wants to persecute individuals who were willing to be an alternative slate of electors, which, right, by the way, there's jurisprudence from 1960 in Hawaii,
right,
that that action preserves the right of the party to have standing in court. Well, instead, Mays wants to obliterate jurisprudence, which is pretty tough, persecute these individuals and call them fake electors who attempted to overturn an election. No, they were on a list. They were on standby if called to be electors in a very questionable election. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is January 6th is the day, aside from the riot that happened at the Capitol, that is the day that all of the various constituencies, all of the states and their caucuses, so the Republican caucus, Democrat caucus, meet in the House chambers.
Right.
And they present their electors. And if there are objections, they post those objections. Well, there was a growing number, and if you had Ivan on your show before, you know what this is all about.
Yeah,
There was a growing number of congressmen who wanted to refer their electors back to the states.
Back to the states, like the same thing they're upset with the Roe v. Wade deal. They want no local power. They want one centralized power.
That's right. But it was very constitutional what they were proposing.
Absolutely. It's the law.
Return the electors back to the states for ratification. That means, yeah, you've certified an election, but something's fishy here. So we're going to send it back to the state legislators. And if they agree that those electors can proceed, then by all means we'll proceed. Well, had they done that here in Arizona, I'm confident that we would have 31 members in the House, 16 members in the Senate. We would have said, no, we're withholding our electors.
Yes.
That would have denied.
Initiates the entire election.
Bingo.
Any proven fraud means you've got to halt it and do it right. That's what we pay taxes for, that our vote counts.
You are absolutely correct, madam. Fraud vitiates everything. And that means, by the way, if there is a certification based on a fraudulent document, that document is as though it were never written, because fraud vitiates everything.
Yeah. And they didn't want to go back to the states because they in no way, and they're proving it now every day with Kamala, they want no votes. They want no input from any voter because they just hate Trump and they don't care any means necessary. That's what they're doing.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, let's knock this one out and get back, because we had Jovan Pulitzer, who did was kind of behind the recount in Arizona in 2020. We covered that at length. Like, clearly there was a fraudulent election in 2020 in Arizona, and
that's not even going to Georgia or Pennsylvania.
Right. This is just Arizona we're talking about, and 2022 with you and Kari Lake were in that lawsuit. All cases were thrown on lack of standing. We're going to talk about it, but Mom, first, we got a new product here that we started using because you had trouble sleeping. I don't know if you're aware of this, but you're famous for having trouble sleeping because you had to rely on Ambien at one point.
Yes, and I wrote my tweet backwards. But now this new powder thing they sent, I think I slept 9 hours.
Yeah,
that never happens.
I want you to talk about it because, like I said, we do ads for companies. We try their products. If we don't like it, we're not really going to push it that hard. This stuff's actually really good. You slept great. It's a big deal. Good
too. It didn't taste like a mess.
Well, they had different flavors. I think you like the sea salt caramel, but it doesn't matter. The point is, this company, the Stream Powder, is awesome. You're able to sleep, and we're going to continue to do it because I think when you start getting sleep, your life will improve on multiple levels, and you won't be doing dishes at 3 a.m. and waking me and my children up, more importantly.
Yeah, I start rearranging the kitchen when I can't sleep, and I get up at 3, and then I go out there, and I don't know. I'm trying not to eat, so I start refurbishing the place. I don't know. This worked though, so it was good.
It's good stuff. So tell the people a little bit more about where they can go and get it, because this is good shit.
Okay. My listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder. Their science-backed, healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Better sleep has never tasted better. Other sleep aids can cause next day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of, get this, reishi, magnesium, L-theanine,
Theanine.
L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin, so that's good, to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Roseanne and use the code Roseanne at the checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Roseanne and use the code word Roseanne for up to 40% off.
And the cool thing is, and we'll get back to the show, this is a blend of sleep aids. It's not just one thing. Because, yeah, you don't want to take shit like melatonin by itself or ginkgo biloba, but there's all sorts of stuff and links. But this is a unique blend. It's the right amount. It's not too much. That's why you slept like a baby and have no side effects. So good stuff. Thank you. I recommend everyone try it. So back to it. So 2022 you ran, and you and Kari Lake, we know about Sharpie Cape. We know all this stuff we talked about a lot. I just want people to understand a little bit who you are, and then I'll go back in the background. You are involved in those legal cases with Kari Lake. You're tied to her on those, yes?
That's correct. So, interestingly enough, in I believe it was April of 2022, we filed in U.S. District Court, Arizona, asking that the machines be either not used, or that we have the opportunity to inspect the machine code and verify that they were indeed EAC certified. Well, the judge in that case, Judge Tucci, an Obama appointee, big surprise, dismissed that case and then sanctioned us for even daring to ask the question, saying that, well, you know, your case isn't ripe. Well, here's the problem that the courts have created. If you wait until after the fact, they claim latches, which means you were too late. If you do it before the fact, it's not yet ripe. So in other words, the courts have created this situation where the people have no access to the court to prevent a disaster. We told the court, this is what we predict will happen based upon 2020. The same thing will happen in 2022. And sure as hell, the same thing happened. In fact, interestingly enough, on the very day that that I was notified about sanctions, that's the day that the Maricopa County disaster occurred, where over 7,000 ballots every 30 minutes were being rejected by machines that were supposed to be tabulating votes. So let me get this straight, Judge. We tried to warn you about a house on fire and call the fire department, and you basically cut the phone lines. Then we went to the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court, tried to explain to them that the court had erred. One of the judges that was sitting on that bench said, "Can you show me in the Constitution where it says that people have a right to vote for president?"
Wow.
Well, he's actually right, because it's the legislatures traditionally that have voted for president, but we won't get into that constitutional argument. So we go to the Supreme Court. After we find out the Maricopa County officials had lied in court and said that they were using EAC certified software, when in fact they were using software that was altered, as I said earlier in the show. That one thing made the election irredeemably compromised, because there is a doctrine that I believe came out of the Alabama case in like 1984. There's a Supreme Court justice in Alabama who was denied his seat because the elections officials there did not follow the law. It's the difference between substantial compliance and strict compliance with the law. Okay, so there's a reason that we write election law, policymakers write election law in advance of the election. It's so that everybody knows the rules, everybody can follow the rules, and whoever wins by the rules wins. It's designed to eliminate the potential for
called playing fair.
Yes. When we talk about fair elections, that's exactly what we're talking about. So what happened there is that the elections officials, they substantially followed the law, except for the fact that they allowed something like 12,000 ballots, I guess. I don't know all the facts of the case, but they allowed a number of ballots to be counted that didn't meet the requirements in law. So in comes the notion of strict compliance versus substantial compliance. It's strict compliance. And indeed, fraud vitiates everything.
Right.
That justice, after 11 months of waiting, was finally seated on the Supreme Court, and the cheat was basically pushed back. Okay, so following the same kind of construct, Kari and I went to the court and said, look, y'all been lied to. And here's what they did. And here's our proof. And here's our witnesses. And the court said, well, that may be, but we're not going to hear the case. That was the U.S. Supreme Court. So last I checked, I think we are now back at the district court level, appealing to the court for reconsideration because y'all been lied to. Maricopa County lied. Now comes the 2024 election, which I'm pretty sure that they're going to try to do the exact same thing. But
why wouldn't they?
You talked about breaking news. Yes, there is breaking news that occurred yesterday.
What is it?
Well, I wouldn't say yay. I would say ay. Oy vey. So there was an emergency call with the Secretary of State, who I believe is a fraud, Adrian Fontes, with all of the county recorders, county elections officials, and county attorneys. Apparently, they found some 90,000 plus non-citizens registered to vote in Arizona on the voter rolls. I'm also told by one of the insiders that the vast majority of them are Republicans. All right. That is sounding a bit like a red herring to me.
No, I said it. Jake, I said this because I saw it in one of my things where I think things.
Yeah.
One of your dream states.
They're going to say we're cheating.
Or I just think about if I was a cheating, lying, friggin' hooker like Kamala, what would I do to be even dirtier in this? And I think, how would Obama do this? Because he thinks he's so smart. So I try to be that dirty as him or Hillary or Bush, But I said, hey, Jake, you guys all heard me. I said, you know what? These illegal aliens, they're going to vote Republican.
Well, he said, yeah, I wish they would. But what he's saying is that they're showing on the voter rolls that it looks like Republicans are starting the process of cheating. So that's what.
No, they're having them register as Republicans so they get. No, I'm telling you. Wait a minute, because they're going to do this when Trump wins. They're going to say we can this. They're going to turn it, and they're going to go. We can't. Whatever they did with the Mike Pence thing. What's the word?
Certify.
We can't certify this win because a lot of these Republicans were illegals, and we can't certify. That's what they're going to do. I see it.
So there are a couple of factors that need to be considered here, and they're not all out of Arizona. So let's go back and revisit the news cycle over the last 3 or 4 days. Merrick Garland comes out and says, reconstitutes the Russia thing. But,
I know.
But this time, it's undoubtedly Russia will attempt to interfere in our elections electronically. Okay, wait a minute. You guys are the ones that have been calling people like me election deniers for the last 5 years.
They're setting it up.
So now all of a sudden you're going to be a fraud affirmer like I've been for the last 4 or 5 years. So now you're flipping, you're flopping over to the other side, and you're trying to set the predicate for Kamala Harris is just a defective candidate and she's going to get shellacked. Well, the only way she's going to lose is because of cheating and Russia. And
they're going to do a flip. They always do the mind control always flip.
They're going to try and say it's all Donald Trump's fault. Okay?
Well,
in the same press conference, Merrick Garland refers to non-citizens, the pervasive nature of non-citizens on the voter rolls. Okay, hold on a second. You got an executive order there out by Joe Biden instructing all federal agencies to assist with the registration of voters. They have been facilitating the registration of non-citizens to vote, which, by the way, the facilitation of a crime is also a crime.
Right.
Now we have Merrick Garland saying, oh, well, we have a problem. Well, no kidding. You caused the problem.
Yeah.
So in typical federal government fashion, they create the problem, then they claim to have the solution for the problem. A better solution would be just don't create the problem in the first place.
Yeah,
Now,
that would help.
it says in federal law already that
It'd save a lot of money too, wouldn't it?
yeah, tons. It says in federal law that you're not a non-citizen is not allowed to vote.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so how do you establish whether an individual is a non-citizen? You ask for proof of citizenship. However, the courts have said, oh, well,
Racist.
if you do that, it's going to disenfranchise a potential voter who has the right to vote. Well, okay, wait a minute. The last time I checked, it is personal responsibility to have your affairs in order. It is not the responsibility of the government to have your paperwork in order. It's your personal responsibility. Okay.
Right.
So we start putting all these pieces together. And now comes this disclosure by the Arizona Secretary of State, or at least the guy that's in that office, that we have over 90,000 voters, vastly Republican, that have been registered to vote and that are non-citizens. I still believe that that's a red herring, especially on the heels of the Merrick Garland announcement.
Yeah, it is.
It's not talking about the millions that have been registered to vote. I don't know how many in Arizona that are known to be illegal entrants and not legal citizens. I think this number is low, partly because they're saying, well, this has happened over a decade. Some of these people have been on the rolls for 10 years. Okay. Well, then this problem has been here since Katie Hobbs, quite frankly, and maybe even before. So now we've got this situation set up where we have a known problem. We know what the problem is. We've got non-citizens on the voter rolls. We have a solution. The solution is very clear. Require proof of citizenship when you show up to vote. If you're not, this whole idea of a federal only ballot. Well, it's the federal law that says non-citizens can't vote. So why do we have a federal only ballot? Because the court has said, well, you can't ask people for proof of citizenship. It's just like Alice in Wonderland stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It's a catch-22, like from the book.
So now we're at this place in.
Or all these laws have been written since 2016, right?
No, some of them go back since before. Yeah.
But I'd like to know how many. I know they were changing laws when I ran for president in 2012, and I was keeping my eye on that. How they just a new law would appear, like in Hawaii, where I helped to register so many people as Greens, and then a new law came up where they're masters of manipulation and deception.
That's how the power brokers aim to maintain control over the system that they've created. And they want to, it's a club. And by the way, you're not in the club.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in the club.
Right.
That's why they have sicked the dogs of propaganda on people like me and Kari and, calling us every name in the book. Well, that's the propaganda network. That's why I think, quite frankly, people like you and your podcast and all of the various emerging news channels and opinion channels are so important in the American discourse.
Yeah.
The First Amendment has a free speech right to the news, to the press. What they've forgotten is that there is a responsibility that goes with that right. Every single right has a responsibility.
Right.
And if you are going to become a propaganda arm for a particular political party, you really ought to disclose that you're in the tank for that political party, not try and put up that, oh yeah, we're fair and balanced, or
I know, but can't anybody with half a brain in their head see it? But they don't. It's so
it's psychological conditioning. It's psychological conditioning, and I know that you've probably have read Fifth Generation Warfare. It's by Boone Cutler and General Flynn. Okay, this is all. How do we shape the minds of Americans to get them to go to the slaughter willingly?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what this is about.
I know.
So we look at there are a lot of parallels. In fact, I was on a podcast earlier with General Flynn, and he was talking about the demise of republics throughout history.
Yeah.
And all of the warning signs for the collapse of the American Republic are flashing red right now.
Yeah.
We're like Germany, 1936 to 1940.
Yeah.
We are like the Roman Republic. I mean, when it collapsed, when it finally collapsed, it collapsed in days.
Yeah. So did the Soviet Union.
Right. So, now we are at this place where the power brokers want to install essentially a tyrannical, a one-party government that is focused on tyranny and force to make the people do the government's will. We weren't set up that way. We're supposed to be the ones dictating to the government what our will is.
Yeah, they hate that.
So,
that's why they hate the Constitution and why they hate America and why, I don't know. It's been going wrong for so long, but yeah, we're the only place in the whole world that assumes you are born with inalienable rights and has that in the very document that's supposed to be protected by these people who are in the courts and in all the things that are reaping the money that the taxpayers pay, their blood and sweat to pay, and not only that, but send their children to die in order to defend. And I'm sick of it.
That's the stuff that President Trump is against. The kind of spending. He's a money guy. He's a real estate guy. He understands. But he's also a lover of life. That's why, and I'm glad that he's pointed out, just about every war that we have started, except for Iraq, has been started by a Democrat.
Absolutely.
It's been fueled by money that has been authorized by predominantly Democrats.
Yeah.
So I remember the days in Vietnam, because I was a kid growing up, where Republicans were called warmongers. Well, wait a minute. The Democrats were in charge. Yeah. So what exactly does that mean? Well, it was all a psychological operation trying to convince the American public that we needed to go a different direction. Well, it's been that way ever since the days of Hamilton and Madison. So, okay, we just have to understand that there are power brokers who seek to drive American opinion, and they're willing to use any tool they can to get their way. And that means that we've now devolved into this level of cheating that doesn't even resemble an election.
Right? No, it in no way does. It's a circus. I just wonder, where's the army or the armed forces to protect us? That's what I can't figure.
Well, so the army, you ask an interesting question. Do you know we don't have a standing army?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not to protect us. They're all over the world, though.
No, it's a volunteer.
We're not permitted to have a standing army. So the army that we have is reauthorized whenever they do a reauthorization bill for military protection. They just continue that on. It's like, okay, we're ending the army today, but at midnight tomorrow, we're going to have an army again.
Yeah.
That's a unique feature of the American experience. Our framers did not want to have a standing army because it was, if you look through history, armies quite often have a tendency to instill dictators.
That's true.
Okay. And that was one of the safeguards, but that's long since passed. And
but I mean, if we're being invaded, isn't that a whole different thing than a standing army? If our country is being invaded and our rights to vote being taken away, and we are occupied by a crime cabal at every level, don't we have some defense?
So our standing army has a lot of different functions. Our standing army that's not a standing army. The military, let's call it that, has a number of functions. All right. One of those is to engage in war powers. Usually that's offshore.
Yeah.
Now comes the cyber war, which is the virtual war that we are engaged in right now.
Mm-hmm.
It is an act of war for another country to interfere with our elections. Okay?
Uh-huh. Right.
But they're going to do it without firing any bullets or dropping any bombs. They're going to do it electronically. In fact, I think we talked about this on our last interview, that the only thing that an adversary needs to do to take over America is shut down our electrical grid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All they got to do.
Yeah. 3 days.
Our adversaries know that. So, because that would eliminate the population, we're so reliant on electricity and all of the creature comforts, everything from transportation to the movement of water, to to heating, cooling, cooking. It all relies on electricity.
Yeah.
So you take the electrical grid down, and within, I forget all of the predictions on the number of people that would die.
I heard it was something like 90% within 72 hours.
I think that's a little heavy.
Seemed high.
Certainly
but
here,
it's not
good.
Good.
Here in Arizona, if you go 2 or 3 days without water, you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. No kidding.
So there's going to be a water supply that is ongoing. But I would say within a week to 10 days, we got people dying all over the place because the grid is down, because we can't move water. We can't move fuel to move water. All of those things. We can't. We've lost our infrastructure ability to respond. So, back to what is the plan that President Trump has laid forward, the wrecking ball plan. And I don't know that that's a great name for it, but it certainly is apropos. Going into these government agencies and cleaning house.
Yeah. It has to happen.
Who knows that needs to happen? The federal government has become so bloated and has taken so much of our liberty away from us that they no longer live by the Constitution. In fact, he was also correct when he said, look, it's not you they're after. He said, it's our Constitution and I'm standing in the way.
Mm-hmm.
That is the objective of the one-party tyrannical government that wants to take over. They simply want to have a dictator. They don't want to have to, Barack Obama himself said, sometimes I wish I didn't have to deal with Congress. I could get a lot more done.
Yeah.
Well,
he is a dictator.
Those are the words dictator.
This is his third term, so he's going for his fourth term now.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the puppet master of Biden and Kamala. He picked her, and he figured out how to get her in there without one member of their whole party voting for her. Nobody wanted her. And, he also owns everybody in the media who bows down to him like he's a god. And whatever he says goes. He just made that movie on Netflix and laid it all out, told us what was going to happen. And in that movie he made is the taking down of the grid. Did you see that movie?
Yep. I saw it.
Hey, we got to take a quick break. Sorry, guys. I know we're in the middle of it, but we got to pay the bills, as they say. American Financing, Mom. We love this company. They do home. Do you own a home, Mark, by the way?
I rent.
Okay. Well, then this ad's not for you. But if you know anyone, let them know. AmericanFinancing.net is a great company. You can take the equity out of your home, refinance. It can help you get out of credit card debt or any debt you find yourself in, because as we're talking about on this podcast, the economy is in trouble. Comrade Harris, as Trump calls her, has really put us in a bind. And a lot of people are in debt.
That's a great name for her too, isn't
I
it?
love Comrade. I call her Commie Law, but I think Comrade's even funnier. But anyway, long story short, if you own a home, you can refinance, take the equity out, help yourself get out of debt. American Financing is a great company. They save people an average of $854 a month. You hear that, Mark? $854 a month. That's the same as getting a $10,000 a year raise, so they can really help you. And Mom, we talk about them all the time, so I'm just going to cut to the chase and just have you tell people where to go. Everyone already knows this company is great. And that's it. Yeah. Just let them know where to go and we're good to go.
Okay. Well, if you start today, you might be able to delay 2 mortgage payments and call 866-890-8585. That's 866-890-8585, or visit AmericanFinancing.net .net/Roseanne.
And we've gotten good reports on people going there, but we've done this ad a lot. I know there's only so many homeowners. So you can also go to this place if you're interested in buying a home. They don't just do refinancing. They're a mortgage lending company. You can use it to buy a property. So give them a hit up. It also supports my mother when you do go to our sponsors and click that lead.
I hope they can help you. And
they can. They're legit. They're legit.
Yeah,
we've looked into them.
Family owned, and they don't work on a percentage of what they screw you for.
That's the most important thing. They're salary-based commissions. They don't get commissions on the loans. So they just give you a great loan, and that's how they get paid. They don't get paid off giving you a loan that's good for them. It's a loan that's good for you. They're a great company. They've been family-owned and operated for 25 plus years. We wouldn't support them or promote them if they were going to screw you. So anyway, back to the show. This is fascinating, you guys. We only have one more ad, by the way. You're doing great. I'll let you know in about 15 minutes.
Okay. Good, thank you.
I know you hate ads, but this is how you get paid, dude.
Oh, so that's how I get paid.
You got to do ads in your podcast.
You got to work for your money.
I'm too busy helping other people get their podcast done, but I'm not complaining.
Well, I love that you're doing it and you're dropping some great information.
Yeah. So
Did you say? I don't think you said the. Are we back, Jake?
Yeah, it's live, man. We're going. There's no break.
No. Well, I hate that we had to stop because now I can't remember where we were.
I can tell you. Well, we were talking about Trump's plan. The government bloated. Military, and Trump wants to clean house in the government because the federal government's got bloated, as Mark was saying. That's where we were.
Yeah, because it's just a small percentage of people that before they figured out this next level of cheating. But the big cheat is that the 30% of people that always vote Democrat work for the government and have government jobs. So their vote is just to keep the government big and bloated for their own jobs. That's kind of cheating.
Yeah,
right there.
Well, one of the things that we talked about in our last interview was the impact of RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't it fantastic?
I would love to address that if you are up to it.
I'd love to also. It's fantastic.
So I know that there were negotiations going on for quite a while between President Trump and RFK Jr. I'm glad that they had a thoughtful, deliberative discussion. I'm hoping, I'm praying. Please put RFK Jr. in charge of everything that has to do with healthcare, from the FDA to CDC to NIH. Anything that has to do with the vaccine industrial complex, because I think that, again, fraud vitiates everything. I
got to go get my hat. Wait, give me my hat. It's right there.
No, I'm on it.
Oh, we got
the year.
Great mind thinks alike, and so do ours. Look at yeah. Continue. Make America healthy again.
There you go. So I think that putting RFK Jr. into a position that is, and I know I find the term czar offensive, but if you have maybe a cabinet level position to hold people accountable for their skullduggery. I mean, we look at the vaccination industrial complex, for example. And there's not a lot of people who understand this, but in law, they have an exemption from civil liability if individuals are injured by their injections. Well, that only applies if they didn't know in advance that it would cause a health malady, a problem. Well, now RFK's come out, I believe, and said, look, we have evidence that they knew.
Yeah. They knew.
Okay, fraud vitiates everything. So that means that your protection against this is null and void. If you knew in advance, COVID-19 injections, all of that stuff, if you knew in advance, yeah. The other thing that I would not be surprised to see.
That's what gain of function means.
Exactly. Gain of function is code for weaponization.
Yep.
Okay? Period. I mean, Dr. David Martin has done just incredible work to out this entire gambit. And, some people would say, well, it's a conspiracy theory if you say this. Okay, well, except you've got people like Bill Gates and some of the uber wealthier saying, we need to eliminate 50% of the population on the planet
They say it all the
by
time.
2030. And
Yeah.
okay, so then how is that a conspiracy theory? They come right out and said it. So
Yeah,
I would love to.
that's
And-
UN Agenda 2030.
Yeah. So then we have Tulsi Gabbard come on the scene and say, okay, and this is paraphrased, of course. I can't deal with crazy. The Democrat Party has lost its mind. I've got to go in a direction that speaks sane words and puts them together in sentences. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you have word salad Kamala and soundbite Biden, that's not leadership. Their advocation for public policy that hurts Americans,
On purpose.
that sends business offshore, that guts the American financial system, that is not America first. And I think that people recognize that. Now, unfortunately, again, going back to 5GW, we've got so many people who have bought into the propaganda line, and they're so deeply embedded in it that it will probably cause a certain level of psychotic break if they're confronted with proof that they're wrong, because they have
For
been.
anybody who's ever worked in Hollywood, they're going to have a psychotic break when the truth comes out. They are, I can't even.
Well, there's a move to move Hollywood to Arizona, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's moving all
Georgia.
over the place because it's dying. But the people there, I just talked to an old friend, and he's very intelligent and a good writer and all that stuff. But I couldn't believe it. I hadn't talked to him for like 15 years or something. So I said, well, I'm glad I live in Texas because I was glad to get away from that liberal craziness. And he goes, yeah, that's kind of weird for you. I mean, what happened that you would go and start liking that thief? And I was like, you mean you still buy that Democrat? Oh yeah, I'm still for civil rights. He knocked it out. I'm still for women's rights, civil rights, and whatever else he said. And I go, well, then you shouldn't be a Democrat.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's not discuss this for the sake of our friendship. But they
Right.
don't even know. They don't even know. And they don't care to know. It drives me crazy.
Well, they're relying on the brand.
Yeah.
Well,
They're not relying on public policy.
right.
At all.
So let's
They don't
discuss
know one
that.
thing about it. They don't even know the three branches of government.
Yeah, so let's discuss for a moment Title IX. Title IX was established for
God.
one. What?
I love this subject. Go.
Yeah, Title IX was established for one reason, and that is to protect women and give them a true equal opportunity in the athletic world to get some of the scholarships that previously only men got.
Right.
Okay, so now we have this extreme, insane ideology that has said, well, if you claim to be a woman, that counts. In one fell swoop, the Democrat Party and their masters, because I no longer believe that anybody that's in the Democrat Party really understands who's running the party. If
No,
you
they
buy
have
into
no
the idea that women don't deserve to have the same level of treatment as men,
They don't believe that.
of course they don't. That's why they have allowed this transgenderism. This is the fall of the republic.
Yeah.
This is Satan at work undermining civil rights of people.
And particularly of women and girls.
That's right. So,
And they are, all these kids that are, okay, I'm not even, but, New Scum just passed that law that voided all parental rights if you send your kids to public schools.
and that's why so many people are moving out of California to Arizona. Now, my message to people who are watching this that have come from other states that were dominated by extreme leftists,
Mhm.
remember why you moved here.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't bring that shit here.
because it only takes one election for you to bring that with you. It's kind of like pack rats will do their business in their nest. That's why they stink. All right.
Yeah.
Don't be that kind of voter. Okay. Don't bring that here. Learn your lesson. Leave that behind you and come join the sane world where we think about public policy in a context of what do we do to protect the civil rights of the people. That's why government is constituted in the first place, to protect the civil rights of the people.
Right.
So all of this
The
knits
right to
together.
pursue happiness.
Yeah. All of this knits together with President Trump's commentary on, look, they may be after you, but they're really after our Constitution. We're the only republic on the planet that has a constitution that preserves the rights for the people and still proclaims that the people are in charge, not the government.
Right.
But the government seems to have forgotten that.
And the left seems to have forgotten power to the people too. Their power to the billionaires and the corporations and the greats and, richer, whoever has the most money. It makes me so crazy.
Hey, Mom, did you see that Kamala's Twitter page is saying, boasting? If it wasn't bad enough for her to boast about Dick Cheney's endorsement, she's now endorsing that 100 of the top Fortune 500 companies aren't endorsing Trump. They're basically, they don't even have the wherewithal to understand that they are now the party of the Cheneys and the Bushes and the corporations. And she's touting it proudly that no Fortune, and it's and then it's so funny to see. And you're like, okay, well, clearly Democrats are now at least admitting who they are, that's a good path forward for all of us. They're the party of war and corporations now. But then you'll see their supporters you'll argue with, and they'll be like,
it couldn't be more clear to America that that is the Trump card.
It's switched.
That's the difference right there. No, it's the rescuing of everything valuable to the people of this country belongs to the people who back President Trump, who more than anyone has the heart and the soul of America in his heart and soul. And he is, and that's why they're trying to kill him like they killed MLK. Kennedy, like they'll shoot anybody who wants peace and prosperity at home, who wants the public's money to be used for the good of the public, not people in the Ukraine. The Democrats are all sending their money away. The only thing that I'm going to hope for is that I live 10 minutes longer than the rest of us after they bomb us, that I just live 10 minutes longer so I can go, I try to tell you.
Yeah.
Because I'm Jewish and I want to say, I told you so and you didn't listen.
Right.
Because that's a big thrill for you. But it makes me so mad.
Yeah, one of the things that they've really seized upon is this narrative of the size of events.
Yeah. Which is
okay. But what I think the propaganda media is missing is who are at these events.
You mean the rallies?
Yeah, think about this for a second. So you got a President Trump rally where average everyday Americans go, and even some have been killed because they went. Okay.
Yes.
You've got the attendance of ordinary people in an open field. Typically, there is some level of outer screening for anybody going into an event like this. Okay.
Wow.
Then juxtapose that against the events that Democrats have with the billionaires, the tech giants, big labor, big everything, big business, all of these individuals who are promoting an agenda that is not for the people.
Yeah,
okay.
For them.
So it just doesn't make a lot of sense. In fact, I'm seeing this all over Arizona right now. I hate to utter his name, but I have to for purposes of demonstration. Ruben Gallego, a defund the police guy, is now endorsed by police.
Right.
Running for U.S. Senate. He's got signs out there endorsed by police and fire. Okay. So that tells me that either the police have gone so woke that they can't be trusted.
Yeah, it does. It
I,
does
it,
indicate
it,
that.
it just, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense. So that's why I think that the inclusion of Tulsi Gabbard and RFK coming, they're moving center right. We talked, I think, once before about the Overton window. The
Yeah,
Overton window is that place where public perception, public policy begin to get really close.
yeah,
So that's when you can make change in policy. Well,
yep.
where we're at right now, I think, is that we have conservative Democrats are kind of in the position I'm in. I've always stayed, I've been center right all my life. But the left has gone so far to the left, it makes me look extreme.
Right.
That's
Well,
exactly
they've
right.
also gone so far to the left that they've left their own constituents behind.
Mm-hmm.
No, I said that on Jimmy Kimmel to him when he said, "How could you have?" I said, "You guys went so far left, you went off the cliff and lost everybody."
Yeah.
There you
And
go.
I when this country, I felt, I feel like as a comic, it's our job to keep everything in the middle. Our critique of the country, in our humor and the things we write, as critics, social critics, our job, our God given jobs, the way I look at it, is to keep it all in balance and make sure it doesn't get imbalanced or that it doesn't go to any extreme because we can't keep it. We
Right.
can't keep it if we give into extremes. It's got to be balanced right down the middle, Main Street USA, and that's why I did my show. Because it is about Main Street. It is about the American people and the American family. But you know what? These two extremes have managed somehow, and I think it's through propaganda. Thank you, Barack Obama. Um, they have marginalized these right wing and left wing that all work together. Don't lose that. That intersection is where all money changes hands. And they have marginalized the great majority. Now, how does that work?
Well, it's the power brokers. They are going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars getting people into offices that are responsible for spending hundreds of billions of dollars.
That's it exactly. That's why I said they just vote for their own jobs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they
They
hate
don't
guys
vote
like
for the
me.
betterment of anybody but
Yeah.
them.
They hate guys like me because I'm purposely, I wouldn't say I'm a pauper, but I purposely have decided not to make a lot of money right now. What am I live a good life. I live a comfortable life. It's not necessary for me to have the trappings of wealth because I really am dedicated to seeing to it that we get back on course as a nation. I have to do that. General Flynn talks about local action with national impact.
That's the answer right there. Yep.
That is the answer. So I would encourage the folks that are watching your show, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, I don't care.
I don't care either.
I'm,
Just to
I'm
have some
doing
damn
this.
common sense.
I do what I do because I love my countrymen, and I don't care what political party you are.
Right.
When we can have a legitimate conversation about policy differences, should we spend
Yeah.
more money on education? Well, yeah, I don't mind spending more money on education if it's education and not indoctrination.
Mm-hmm.
If we are holding people accountable for behaviors in the schools, if we are
How
holding
about holding the teachers union accountable for the fact that 80% of children from blue cities cannot read? How about holding them responsible?
well, was it Brandy Weingarten, whatever her name is? Yeah, she would object to that because they're an employment agency. They're not a professional agency. They're there for one reason, and that's to protect the rights of teachers. Well, okay, slow down a second. If you're not doing your job,
And they have to make sure they're this far away from saying, California already did it, this far away from saying, pedophilia is now legal, and a certain percentage of our DE, according to our DEI thing, has to have to be pedophiles to teach in school. They're that far away from that.
That sounds very Walt Disney-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we have one last ad, and then I'll leave you alone. You guys ready?
All right.
Sure.
Mom, you love these. This one's easy. This is TWC, the wellness company. I'm sure you know about this, Mark. We did this ad when we.
I'm a customer.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yay.
Of course you are. See, mom just hates reading ads, but like we're putting really good products in the hands of really good people because, as you know, with the COVID-19
I don't hate
pandemic.
reading ads.
Okay, well then let's see that smile. Okay, TWC, they have the emergency kits. Mark's a fan. We're all a fan. If shit hits the fan, these are the best things to have. As you know, I got to read this to you. They just sent me this. There's a COVID-19 spike. Now, it's not really that bad, but it's bad enough to worry about. There are 1.2 million new cases reported daily right now. I don't know if you know that. Monkeypox was just declared a global health emergency. And the bird flu summit is coming. And as you know, they found the first bird flu case in America. So if what Mark's talking about with the voter rolls and all the taking standing and all the cheating and the Jan 6 Fed's direction doesn't work, they're going to take shots at Trump. If they don't kill him, then they're going to release a pandemic so we can't vote and mail in. So if a pandemic does go.
The post office already said they can't handle it. So I thought wasn't that interesting, Mark?
Very scary.
The post office said, hey, we can't handle all the fake ballots we had to rake in for the Democrats last time.
I want to talk about it when we get out of the ad. So let's just finish it up. This is a great product when they release the pandemic, not if. This stuff can kill you. I mean, bird flu mortality rates is way more dangerous than COVID-19. So
really?
Yes, get one of these. Get it ready. They will.
I guess they're getting their recipes stronger as they go, I guess.
Well, yeah, because everyone saw through COVID because it was like 99% survivable or something like that. So they're like, next time we're going to have to kill a bunch of people. Project 2030, decrease it by half. Anyway, have your meds on hand. These are meds like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. I'll let you tell people more. But just remember, you order this, you keep it safe, and when shit hits the fan, you'll have your meds on hand.
Prepared. Yeah. I mean, if you're prepared, you're less scared. Those rhyme. I just made that up. It's time for you to take control of your life, and your panic and all this other stuff. We sit here and talk about all these terrible things going on. But if you're prepared, you won't be as scared. Get the Contagion Emergency Kit from the Wellness Company. It's packed with ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, Z-Pak, Tamiflu, budesonide, and a nebulizer, the treatments they don't want you to have or they didn't want you to have. Forget waiting in line or struggling to get a doctor's appointment or going to the emergency room, God forbid. And now, if you act now, you can protect your family from the next pandemic. Visit twc.help/RB to get the Contagion Emergency Kit today.
Repeat it one more time.
Visit twc.help/RB to get your Contagion Emergency Kit today. Use promo code RB at checkout to save $30. Once again, twc.help/RB and use the code RB to claim your discount. And remember, these kits are only available in the God blessed USA.
Yes, ma'am. All right, the ads are done, so now we can just freeform. You guys are doing great, by the way. And back to it. We're live.
But I can't remember what we're talking about.
Well, I was saying you were talking about you were bringing something up when we did the bird flu.
Because I don't think that maybe you didn't want to, Mark, but when we were talking about the second attempt on taking our candidate's life, you were saying how just odd it is the way it all worked out, that nobody knew he was going golfing except just a few people, right?
Well,
I was hanging out there for 12 hours with a great big old long gun.
There are individuals within the president's inner circle who know his travel itinerary. They know his schedule. They know what's going to happen. And if there are DHS, the whistleblower is saying that somebody from DHS has communicated with other agencies, something that is supposed to be close hold. There's no reason for anybody other than the Secret Service to know the president's whereabouts at any given time. So it's very clear that when we start putting the pieces together, you have two individuals that have been linked together. That tells me that's an asset profile.
Mm-hmm.
These are individuals who have either been recruited or recruited by adversaries outside of the federal government or individuals within the federal government. Be that as it may, doesn't matter. Somebody knew where the president was going to be and was able to communicate that to a shooter. Period.
Do you think, I mean, I think the infiltration is everywhere of people that are just terrified of Trump, and they're terrified of, justice. They're terrified of us leaving a fraudulent system. They're getting more and more terrified as this election draws near, and they can't. It seems like it's all tied together, and that they've failed at every other way of stopping the man, and now this, and they're getting away. They're covering it all up, is what I can't stand. Did you like that DeSantis has said he's going to have Florida do an independent investigation? What did you think of that?
Anybody that's willing to do an investigation outside of the federal government, I support. Now, where will that go? Who knows? I mean, I don't trust government anymore. I'm with you, Roseanne.
Yeah.
I'm tangentially in government, but I don't trust it. It is a beast that needs to be on a leash. And if you don't have a strong legislature, and this goes for all 50 states, if you don't have a legislature that is focused on protecting the civil rights of the people, the beast will get off the leash. And that's what we've got in so many different states around the country. Now, keep in mind, if you look at a map of the United States, there are no blue states.
Right.
There's only blue cities.
Yes, that's right.
So the left has done a very good job at trying to control the American experience by controlling a very small number of Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they would say, oh, well, it's the majority. Not if you take a look at the map. You take a look at key states that dictate how America will go. It's kind of like Arizona, for example. In Arizona, Maricopa County has 63% of the voters live in Maricopa County.
Yeah.
We have 15 counties. So that means one county essentially tells the other 14 how they're going to live their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Because the concentration of voters means the concentration of power, because that is where the majority of legislators come from that go to the state capitol. Now, people don't think about this very often. And
No, we don't. I love that you're telling us these things.
That's why there's an electoral college.
Exactly. So this is the Democrats' pursuit, and I would even go as far as saying the Uniparty's pursuit, because it's Republicans as well, like this Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger.
Yeah.
The idea behind the American Constitution is the distribution of power.
Right.
The Uniparty is all about consolidation of power.
Right.
Absolutely.
So that is, when we look at what's the war going on between the peoples, between the various entities, the agendas, the war is really a difference between distribution of power and consolidation of power.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
The Uniparty wants to have a dictator that doesn't have to deal with Congress, doesn't have to, well, actually, Congress is making that more and more possible by the day. You also have a dictator who wants to tell
they do have a dictator who's Obama in his third term, going for his fourth with another steal. I mean, he is a dictator.
Indeed. But I'm going to focus on the face that's public, okay? So it's interesting to me that the Democrat Party decried Donald Trump for using executive orders to clean up corruption in government. And they said, well, that's not democratic. You need to work through Congress. And the very day that President Pudding Pants gets into office, he starts signing off on executive order after executive order. And now, here's an example, 30 by 30. He believes, and this is a totalitarian state, believes that the states need to go away. Well, how do you accomplish that? You seize 30% of the property in the United States and put it under federal control.
That's right.
Then we have property that has somehow wound up in the hands of individuals representing the Chinese Communist Party,
That's right.
buying land all around our military bases.
That's right.
I'm thinking that somebody's asleep at the switch here, namely the State Department. Hey, Blinken, wake up. Get off the golf course a second, okay? Let's not fly to another country. How about just keep your happy ass at home and start addressing the issues here on our soil that are undermining our sovereignty with the sovereigns of other nations. America,
But he's not into that. He's one of them. He's not into that. He's into we will control the world with Klaus Schwab up there.
That's kind of my point.
Yeah.
That we have people who are in office who are not serving the interests of the American people, nor are they abiding by the rule of law, namely the U.S. Constitution. They took an oath of office. And to abrogate that, abrogate is probably the wrong word, to ignore, to be unfaithful to your oath of office is an eyelash away from treason. And that is why we have so many attempts that are either executed or working to execute against Donald Trump.
Yeah.
They cannot afford to have that guy in the White House because they know what's coming.
Yeah.
Reminds me of the scene from Tombstone.
Yeah.
Tell him I'm coming,
hell's coming with me.
well, the people are coming with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I hope you're right.
Well, we just all pray for that. We pray for the, continual awakening of, people in our country as to what's headed here. And it's also, I'm trying to put out all I can put out. I'm day and night reading. I'm day and night making phone calls to people and trying to hook up people. And, I still have hope, but it's narrowing and it's getting real close. I don't know, but, I do know it's going to go the way God wants it to go. And I hope I hope he looks favorably on some of us and thinks it's worth saving because some of us are trying so hard. Most of us.
So yeah, I have this this view that we are the remnant. Think about
what?
You mean post-rapture?
We're the remnant that will be responsible for rebuilding the American Republic.
I believe.
Into voices like yours, like General Flynn. I'm criticized for speaking to any group that is willing to listen, from the QAnon folks to Democrats for lizards. I mean, it doesn't matter where. If people want to invite me to speak on election transparency and security, I'm willing to say, yeah, I'll be there, because there's too few voices that are out there. Now, the other story that I'm reminded of is Gideon's 300. He starts off with 30,000,
right?
Then that drops to 3,000, then down to 300. And I can't help but think that Gideon was scratching his head going, I'm supposed to do this with 300 men? And God said, no, I'm supposed to do this.
That's right.
I want to make sure you understand who gave you the victory. It wasn't by your hand, it was by mine. So yeah, things get a little bit dicey when you're sitting late at night thinking, am I making a difference? But I assure you, madam, you are. The voices that are out there are. If we don't speak truth to power, we will be silenced.
Yeah.
And,
Did you hear old Hill Dog coming out and saying this is the time to put people who are spreading misinformation, which means people who are telling the truth, to go to jail? He said that.
Who said that?
Hillary.
Oh.
Just the other day.
Says one of the top criminals in the United States. Right.
But she's got a lot of power. And they could come and arrest people for telling the truth if we let this continue.
That's where it's headed, for sure. That's where it's headed. That's why we do
Well,
what we do.
if people want to know more about some of my views on some of this stuff, if they want to go to my Substack, markfinchem.substack.com, I write periodically on some of the things that you're not going to read in the newspaper, insider stuff. One of those things. In fact, I believe we spoke about the money laundering operation that we had uncovered.
Yes,
Yeah.
That there's a lot of developing news since we visited in West Palm Beach. A search warrant was executed on Deputy Chief Taylor's home and on the Millersville Police Department to seize records. Now, what's interesting about that is Tennessee Bureau of Investigation already had access to those records through a cooperation agreement between the police department and TBI. Interestingly enough, the DA who issued the warrant and the judge who signed on it, a guy by the name of Whitley, the DA, Thompson is the judge, they just happen to be persons of interest in the investigation.
What's this case for? I'm not familiar.
So this is Millersville Police Department. In fact, I've written on we had a couple of press releases out of Election Fairness Institute, which I'm the executive director of. If people want to know more about that, they can go EFI.org.
Okay.
So we have been hot on the trail of a money laundering operation that is so pervasive that it's in all 50 states, at every level of government and in every branch of government, to corrupt and co-opt individuals with money, with, we even made a connection between the money laundering operation and child sex trafficking.
Wow.
So now we've got, and I want to make this guy a poster child, a guy by the name of Phil Williams, a reporter for the news in the Nashville area. Instead of doing investigative journalism and asking questions about why is the DA and the judge, who are persons of interest in an investigation, why are they issuing a search warrant to seize records? Hey, Phil, why aren't you asking the questions of them, not accusing the chief of police of wrongdoing? So this is all a setup. We suspect that there is going to be some skullduggery going on in the background to try and impugn Chief Taylor's work. But here's the dead giveaway.
What?
When they did the search warrant, one of the agents urinated in his shower, then stepped in the urine and tracked it throughout his house. That was a signal, shut up. Now, Chief Taylor, I think, came out with a statement on that, and he's spot on. They didn't just piss on me. They pissed on the American people, because we are investigating money laundering that goes into politics and child sex trafficking. And if you can't decide what side of that line you want to be on, then you're dead to me. Be gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, one of the upsides of that is, yeah, we do have a sample, so we'll be able to get DNA, and one of these days we'll find out which one of those agents engaged in that, because that's a criminal act. But what disturbs me as a retired law enforcement officer and criminal investigator myself, how dare you do that to an American citizen?
Yeah, really.
And beyond that, how dare you do that to a fellow law enforcement officer in his home?
In his home.
That is perhaps one of the most despicable things that I have ever heard in the law enforcement community. Now, of course, TBI came out and said, "Oh, it's all fictitious. It never happened. He has a dog in the house, and that must have happened." Well, let me tell you, they did a little video with his dog and tried to get her to get in the tub. Dog ran away. Dog doesn't want the tub. Then there's the question of, well, if that's the case, how did the boot marks get in the tub?
Maybe the dog was wearing boots.
That dog's feet aren't that big. I'm sorry, paws aren't that big. So this story is emerging. We're probably going to have a press conference breaking this thing wide open in Las Vegas on Monday. Monday morning.
I can't wait to hear all about it. I would love to see those two intersectionalities where it's like, the justice system and law enforcement and child trafficking and the CIA and the FBI and the Democrat Party donors. I'd love to see those two sticks run together. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. So we're talking about money laundering in excess of $1 trillion that goes into political campaigns.
Wow.
We're pretty sure that this has gone into the persecution of President Trump, paying for all of the political figures from Letitia James to Fani Willis and Alvin Bragg and that whole cast of unethical lawyers. Every one of them should be disbarred and prohibited from participating in legal proceedings in the future. But they're part of the power structure in their states, and this is what tyrannical government, this is what one party rule looks like. So take a good long look, America, at what's going on in New York and in Georgia. And then, of course, we've got Brad Raffensperger, who wouldn't know the truth if it ran over him like a bus.
What do you think of Lindsey Graham? I know you don't want to say anything bad about anyone, but, what do you think of him?
I'm not a fan.
Interesting. I'm not a fan either. And when I heard that he was golfing with Trump, I went, I'll just leave it there.
Yeah. Well, keep one thing in mind.
He gave Kamala the fist bump, remember?
Look into his elections, too, how he won. That's the reason he doesn't want to look into other people's elections.
You've got to read the book. If you haven't read the book, and I'm sure you have, you've got to read Donald Trump's book, Art of the Deal.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That should be a textbook in American high schools, because it's how business is done. Think about, just consider for a moment.
Anything is done. It's done through negotiation and planning and all these different levels. It's not, you just don't just throw things at the wall going, I've been oppressed.
Yeah. And people working together. I mean, think about this for a minute. Donald Trump essentially built the New York skyline. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, you're going to have Barack Obama saying you didn't build that. Well, you sure as hell didn't. Yeah. But Donald Trump is responsible for the Manhattan skyline. Okay.
Right.
He had to deal with crooked politicians, crooked suppliers, crooked code enforcement people, crooked unions, but he still got projects done.
He knows how to befriend even crazy dictators, and he can speak to anyone, and that is a great gift, and that's why they hate him.
That's right.
Because he isn't just a fundraiser and an agitator. He's a problem solver and a builder, and my God, could they hate him more? It's that's just proof of their insanity and hatred of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. They hate all three of them things.
Well, and he is the master of boss moves. So, for example, walking into North Korea.
Yeah.
To shake the hand of a dictator. Mm-hmm. And the dictator knew, I don't have enough juice to blow you up, but you sure as heck have enough to blow me up.
Hello. Yeah.
Okay. That was a boss move. And that is something that the Trump brand has come to exemplify, that if you're going to go big, go big.
Yeah.
And reach for that which is greater than what you expect, because you will surprise yourself. You may just achieve it. So,
especially Americans, if we put our heads together and stop letting, these factions that are only interested in their own getting money off us, working us, grifting us. If we put our heads together and really decide to build things up and make them right, we can do it. I mean, we can do anything, but we can fix every problem that exists. All we have to do is discuss it with each other and get our hands on those levels of power that, like you say, create policy, public policy for the public.
I would love to see us return to the day, and I don't know when we lost this, but I would love to see us as a society return to the day where we looked out for our fellow countrymen.
Yeah, no kidding.
Where we looked out for our neighbors first. I mean, I'm sure that there was a day that you didn't know if your neighbor was a Republican or a Democrat, nor did you care. I would like to see us return to those days and have meaningful conversations about public policy differences. And I'm famous for asking this question. Can you help me understand how you got to where you're at on a particular policy stand? Explain to me the steps that you went through to develop a policy that says, okay, it's okay for men to be in women's bathrooms because they identify as a woman. Walk me through that so that I can really understand what makes you think that's a good policy. Now, the vast majority, I believe, of Democrats have been shamed into adopting the Democrat platform.
That's true.
For fear that they will be ridiculed in public. Well, I'm here to tell you.
Not just ridiculed, but doxed.
Doxed and all of it. I'm here to tell you, join me. It ain't that bad.
It's not that bad, Mom.
It's not that bad. Just move to Texas or Arizona.
Yeah.
Don't bring that shit down here neither.
There you go.
Mark, I love you, and I love speaking with you. I love hearing all the great information you bring to my audience and to myself and my son. And, we so appreciate your being our guest today. And we hope to have you back too, because things are going to get dicey, I think. And we'd love to get your take on so much of it.
Well, maybe I'll come
thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. We'd love to come to Austin and visit with you.
Come hang out with us, man.
And do
you want to send people to your site because you are in a campaign where they can donate? Tell us where to go.
Yeah. So I got a couple things going. Thank you very much, Jake. I appreciate that. We got a couple things going. I'm the executive director of an outfit called the Election Fairness Institute, and we have a number of projects that people can help us fund. We don't accept government money at all.
Great.
We are a 501c3. So if you make a contribution to our litigation fund to help fight election perversion, if you want to make a contribution to help us with our investigation into money laundering, there's a drop-down list that you can tell us where you would like that contribution to go. But the vast majority of people who support us give $20 to $50 a month. They sign up to be long-term donors. That is how we fund our operations. If people want to help with that, goefi.org. As you mentioned, I am running for a state Senate position in Arizona, one of the key members in the coming legislature. I've been asked to run as the majority whip in the Senate, which
boy, that's good.
That's a pretty powerful position because the whip controls the bills and brings all the. It's a position to herd cats. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if people would like to support me there, they can go to votefinchem.com. That's VOTEFINCHEM.com. And then finally, if people want to follow me with my output of stuff that I see that I try to help people make sense of, they can visit me at markfinchem.substack.com. And as I
like the way you write, I like the way you explain in your writing too. It's really good, really great.
Well, thank you. And if somebody wants to text me for some specific instructions, yes, my phone number is 520-808-7340. Text, don't call, because I get so many calls. I try not to answer them until I know what's going on, so that I know how to best help people.
Well, I love that you've pretty much put everything on pause for your country, your countrymen and women. And you are living a life of service, and you got all my love and all my admiration. And long may it wave.
Thank you, Roseanne. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
So you see.